Hi, everybody. Jamilian here, and I am your host tonight for GVN Live, and I am totally jacked up because I just got my copy of Injustice 2, and I competed in an Injustice tournament, just like random. I thought it was Injustice 2, but really it was Injustice, and somehow I managed to come in fourth. I don't even know how that happened. There was like 16 players, and I lost my first match, but then I won the next 4 in a row. I have no idea how that happens, but I'm apparently an Injustice freak of nature. But I'm jacked up. That being said, we have a lot of really exciting things to talk about tonight. Before I go around and ask how everybody is doing and what they are playing, tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about why the positive benefits about video games benefits aren't really shown that much in the news, and there's a couple different ones I want to bring up that happened recently, and I really just want to try to hit the nail on the head on why this continues to happen, why the negativity is constantly, coming down, and they want to say, it's, violent, when really there's a lot of positive. I know I'm overly jacked. I'm sorry. Nick's doing these eyes.
We couldn't tell.
Nick's doing these eyes what in the world? But yeah, at least that makes for an exciting show tonight. You guys can't see this, but this is an Injustice 2 jersey that I totally just got for free, and it's really cool.
Nice.
I'm gonna wear it tomorrow.
Congratulations.
I know. I feel like I'm almost sponsored, but not quite. Oh, the bot scares you. That's okay. I feel better now. It's not.
The bot scares me too. It calls me a meatbag.
But the second topic is going to be a bigger one, and I really want to talk about the evolution of fighting games because, as a lot of you know, I'm really active in the fighting game community. So, since we're starting a little bit late tonight because of me, sorry. Let's start to do our rounds. I pretty much, yeah. Sorry, not sorry, man. I came in 4th place. Screw that. I'm gonna make top 8 at the next Injustice 2 tournament. All right. Well, I hope so, at least. So, Rob, let's start with you. How are you doing, and what games are you playing, and are you getting Injustice 2?
I'm extremely tired. I am only playing a couple of games right now. I just plugged my PlayStation 4 back in after I haven't touched it in a month. So I might get back into the Atelier Fierce, which I actually have kind of abandoned since I started playing the Switch. I just reinstalled Defiance, which is actually kind of a fun MMO that was based on the short-lived sci-fi TV series. Can everybody hear me just fine, by the way?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay,
I can hear you.
All right, I got my mic a little bit farther away, so it's not in camera. But in terms of Injustice 2, I didn't buy the first one, so I might pass on this one because Midway Fighter. I'm gonna hold out till the updated.
I'm telling you right now, Injustice 2 is 10 times better than Injustice 1 just from the 10 minutes I played at.
Way to go, Crystal.
just from the 10 minutes that I played on Saturday. I played it for 10 minutes. I played Scarecrow. He's so badass. And it already plays way better than Injustice 1. I didn't realize how salty Injustice 1 was till I was competing in this tournament.
I might consider it because they announced Darkseid as a playable character, and he is probably my all-time favorite villain in any comic universe. So, yeah.
You know what? I don't think it is Power Girl, but it has a lot of really cool new characters, and I totally bought.
Power Girl is a skin for Supergirl, though.
Okay. It's a skin, but not the actual character herself. I did end up upgrading to the Ultimate Edition last minute, so I ended up buying.
They do have a different.
Shut up and take my money.
Voice. They also have a different voice.
That's actually what happened.
Uh-oh. Oh my.
What?
Oh my.
Yeah, you're just you just went
What?
crazy. Okay.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Then.
My webcam's fine over here.
Is it fine for you guys?
No, it's
What
kind
are
of
you
like
guys
buffering.
talking?
Yeah, your camera's going in and out. As is your headset.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting a robot voice.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to move it now.
I think that the androids are taking
What?
over.
Alright, hold on. Hold on a second. Hold on. Is my connection any better?
Yes, it is better
Yes,
now. So, as you were saying,
It's better now.
yes.
If I have to go into the other room, I will. I was trying to be in. Am I good now?
Yep.
Yes, you're fine.
I'm channeling my inner superhero. Yeah, it's the bot. I agree. Get rid of the GVN bot. The GVN bot's doing it.
Yes. And he keeps on being rude to me.
I'm good now, right?
Yeah, Mark is fine.
for the
Hi, Mark.
second.
Welcome back.
Is Mark good? Are we all good?
I'm fine. I pushed the wrong button. It's fine.
Okay.
Just go
All
on
right, but
before we lose more traction in the show.
All right. Rob, are you good? You're done.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just.
That's what you're doing
Yeah.
in life. All right. You're lame because you won't get Injustice 2. All right, Keith, how are you? What are
I
you
am,
playing? Are you
as of
getting
right now,
Injustice 2?
well, here's
Yeah.
the thing, Emily, is that I'm not a hater of Injustice. I'm just not a fan of it. It's not really for me, and I didn't really like the first one all that much, to be honest with you.
That's okay. Neither did
But
I.
if anything, I've been playing still Legend of Zelda. I beat my second Divine Beast, and I forget how many Korok seeds at the second. I'm just clearing out shrines at the moment, and then I just took a little break from video games, enjoying some of the weather that's outside because it's freaking beautiful outside. Got to go do the outside thing every so often, get that color in and whatnot. But other than the Legend of Zelda, that is about it. I'm really, really, really excited for Street Fighter on the Switch. And oh wait, I also lied. I played some Mario Kart 8 because Mario Kart 8 is pretty rocking.
I was gonna buy that today.
Yes,
I'm gonna
it
do it
is.
tomorrow. So Mario Kart.
But
Yes,
other
it
than
is.
that, things are good. Yeah, I can't complain. They hit me if I do, especially the bot over here that just keeps on like staring at me. Stop. No.
All right. Mark, how about you?
I'm fine.
Mark. That's it?
Hey, are you what? You've done how many shows with him now, and you're
I
expecting
was
more?
about to say that's pretty much Mark's
Wow.
MO. He sticks to one word answers, kind of like
Is it
Silent
Dave?
Bob.
Wait, guys.
Dave?
I think I know what's happening.
Uh-oh.
I think I know what's happening with my web. Why it's being like that.
Are you downloading a Windows 10 update in the background?
Apparently, no. I already have Windows 10, but apparently, okay. Am I moving better now, more clearly, or no?
It's kind
A
of.
little glitchy, but
Yeah, you're
Well,
fine.
yeah.
Apparently, it was running. It was checking for updates and running some background thing, but I fixed it. I'm sorry that I'm glitchy tonight, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Well, Mark, I figure since you always have a lot more to say on the other shows, you'd have more to say tonight, but that's okay.
I played Final Fantasy 14, and I'm not going to buy Injustice 2. That's pretty much all I got.
Wow. So nobody here is getting Injustice 2 but me. Chat.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If NetherRealm made good games, I would buy them, but they don't, so I don't.
I'm sorry you feel that way, considering.
I mean, that's fine. That's fine. You're allowed to like bad things.
I like lots of bad things.
Wow. All right. Well,
Well, no, that's not true. I mean, I think Mortal
I'm
Kombat 10
sorry
was pretty good.
No, it's true. She's allowed to like bad things. We live in a free
I'm
society.
sorry that you happen to feel that way, but Injustice 2 is actually getting, so far, a lot of really good reviews. We'll see what happens after.
I mean, that's fine. There's a lot of people in the world who are wrong. Trump's our president.
There's his argument to win all arguments.
All right,
Okay,
we're
then.
gonna take the topic back onto video games now,
Yeah.
and not political. Let's not do that tonight. Okay.
Gaddafi did it.
What?
Gaddafi did it. Moving on.
Yes. We're definitely moving on. All right. So the first topic is basically I read this article the other day, and I know that before, I think for the show I hosted last year, I talked about how surgeons actually play video games and it helps them improve and become better surgeons and more meticulous, and how we don't hear about those studies in the news, and how surgeons actually can sometimes get their companies to buy their systems for them. It's covered by work because it's supposed to help them be better and pretty much help them save lives. So to go based off of that, I read another article that came out in the beginning of this month about this study going on where doctors are actually testing whether or not video games, like special video games that are designed to help children who have sensory and attention problems like ADHD, to see if video games actually help them improve. And they would literally be prescribing video games to these children who with these issues, special video games, as opposed to feeding them drugs like Adderall and Ritalin and other things like that. I thought this was a really interesting topic to dive into again, because as in video game culture, we are still struggling with being able to spread the positive benefits of video games out in the news, because they seem to just kind of focus on, oh, video games cause violence over and over again. And I really want to ask you guys why you feel we have all this cutting edge, amazing, trials and stuff going on about how video games actually help children and can actually be a replacement for drug therapy when it comes to sensory and attention issues. Yet we don't hear about that in the news. It's constantly video games are violent. So I want to ask what your views are on that, and what you feel, if you feel that it's ever going to change, or we might just be in this constant struggle of the news and the media thinking it's a negative outlet for kids, when studies are actually proving it's actually a positive outlet for kids. So, Keith, I'm going to start with you. Sorry, Rob.
Denied. Okay. But so as far as any sort of therapy that if it can help out kids, absolutely. That's my one thing in life. I think that anything that can be used as a positive is always an awesome thing. Now, as far as it being into the news, is that always bad publicity always grows numbers as far as that one's concerned. But like you said, we're not going to turn that into that shit show of whatever it is that I'm going to go off onto. But
no, I don't want to go into necessarily the negatives. I want to talk about the positives and why, because it's not like positive things haven't gone viral either.
Well, here's the thing is that I don't think that there's too much nowadays, at least. There's not too much of a... There was that whole, spat way back a couple of years ago. But other than that, there's not too much of a really bad image of the gaming community. If anything, now you could see it on... You, of all people, know. You could see it on ESPN now. It's all wow, this is actually being... more accepted. So I think that as different venues kind of come up, these different sorts of treatments can come to available to us, and maybe they can develop something. But if it can make somebody better, absolutely, I'm totally down with that.
It's just interesting to me about how I have to search high and low. Like I literally need to Google video games and go into the news area of Google and search high and low, and eventually I will find an article, pertaining to medical science and video games. But it's a one article, and it's hidden behind all the other ones, and I just wonder why video games wouldn't pick up on... Not video games. I wonder why news outlets wouldn't pick up on something that actually has a positive influence on children. Why they continue if they are going to pick up something. And I'm not just talking about ESPN. And that is true that a lot of sports stations like ESPN are getting into esports, and that is a great thing. But when you look at companies like CNN and CBS and things like that. Yes, that is true. A lot of it has died down. And the reason it's died down and they're not going as much into it is because look at ESPN. A lot of these companies are starting to see that there's a lot of money involved. So
Exactly.
naturally they're like, all right, well, back off. Don't say anything negative because we need to try to see if research and see if this is something we should get into so we can make more money. But they're still not picking up on the positives. So now they're just avoiding it altogether instead of actually doing something about it. Rob?
I know you said you don't want it to go political, but let's be truthfully honest. One of the main reasons why
I
this stigma
political, I mean
of,
like the government.
well,
Let's not talk about Trump, pretty much.
We're not talking about Trump. No,
Trying to
what I'm
say.
trying to say is, in the hindsight of things, there are two things that are going on with why video game, like the benefits of gaming, is not brought to the forefront even more. One is public perception, and this goes way back, like back like when comic books were considered evil, and rock and roll music was the music of the devil, and it's just like every other medium. Like so, as as video games progress as a medium and all that fun stuff, and the benefits of short term exposure, which helps people out with like improvements in surgery, or helping kids out with ADD. It's gonna always be an uphill fight because you have that public perception that video games are thanks to the media, always gonna make kids grow up to be violent, or B, it's just stuff for kids. And
Yeah.
you can always look at stuff like this back in. Let's look at it this way. Back in 18 years ago, one scientist caused one whole hell of a shitstorm when he ran a false claim that immunizations would cause autism. And no matter how many studies came out and said it was false, that there was no base at all to his claim that such a thing would exist, millions and millions and millions of idiots ate it up and believed it. The perception like that is practically the same when it comes to video games. Millions and millions and millions of idiots are out there reading articles, watching news journals, and watching the Columbine news coverage and saying, "Oh, Doom makes kids violent. GTA makes kids want to jump out into the streets and steal cars and run people over." And that is why you don't see news outlets talking about, "Oh, hey, this game is going to help my kid with his ADD 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week or whatever." It's just not going to it's an uphill battle. And I mean, with exposure now going towards more the esports way, you definitely now have, a platform of which you can begin from, because a lot of these kids, we got Brawly Legs. And then we got
Brawly legs.
he
Broly
he is a
legs.
disabled gamer.
Oh,
And
okay,
he
okay.
is extremely good at what he does. He
With his
is
tongue.
a motivation. Yeah, he plays games with his mouth.
He
is
plays
amazing.
fighting games with his tongues. He actually got top 8 once.
He's gotten articles
What?
written about him
Playing-
out there, and he is an inspiration. That is a medium that allows you to see. He probably would have stayed in his basement all day, probably doing absolutely nothing or whatever because of his disability.
Probably doing the same.
But the FGC has allowed him to manage to reach out and practically make a big deal out of this. Look at this guy; he's going out, venturing forward, doing things you wouldn't think possible, and you don't hear anything about that except on gaming media websites. So, like, at least we have a platform now with esports being on like TNA or TNT or whatever, and now on ESPN. We might have something to grow on in order for positive exposure. But then again, when you got Wolfcrone dropping F-bombs, it kind of, shoots you in the foot.
Yeah, but also is that there's a whole other medium nowadays that also where people get their information too. So we're kind of like on that ground floor as well. And as more different venues kind of open up for it, maybe these different things can actually have more effect on it as well. Like you said, it's a very, very infancy stage on the actual development of everything for it, really.
It is, and it's got to begin somewhere. It's just, it started a while ago, but it just really hasn't really gained any traction, and it's kind of painful to see.
I would argue that for games like Halo and Call of Duty, it's gained a lot more traction than the fighting game community because those games were esports before esports even hit us. They got like pop bonuses of like $1 million, sometimes like 2 million, and we're still struggling to get past $500,000, which is obviously was a huge thing when Capcom announced, oh, it'll be $500,000, but we're still on that slow. So I do agree in that regard. I just kind of wish more was done. You see these positive posts go viral all the time, but with video games, especially fighting game, you just don't really see it. So Mark, what are your thoughts?
Do you guys remember that article that they published about all of the positive benefits of playing Dungeons and Dragons?
Nope.
Right,
No.
because there wasn't
No, I
one.
don't.
That's the first part. That's the first part of my argument.
Mhm.
Okay.
It is not the news media's job, for better or for worse, to present parody in stories. It is their job to make money. The news media is not going to have interest in the idea of following up on stories that are not going to attract eyes. And generally speaking, when it comes to psychological studies in any capacity, you're going to get people, you're going to catch the eyes of the news media if your study does one of two things. One, if it gives people a reason to be, concerned or afraid or what have you, or two, if it's indicating some type of miracle cure for a pervasive, widespread issue. So, like, if you see a lot of studies that they put onto, the Today Show or whatever, it's chocolate cures cancer. And, like, this isn't new, like, this is the thing John Oliver talked about, like, 6 months or a year ago. It's pop psychology. A study like this is great. I mean, it's only a study of, like, 38 people, and, it's promising, but there's not a lot to it. Like, it's not something that I would be running to, report on, just because, like, it's not a large sample size. But it's promising, and I would hope that they can do more with it.
Well,
like, if I put it on the Today Show as an example.
Well, right. Well, the thing that surprised me about it was so much the potential and the idea of doctors prescribing, quote unquote, video games as a way to help manage and cure, your ADHD or having sensory issues and things like that. It was more or less like that could be someday. But, for me, I guess I know where you're coming from. I guess for me, it just kind of bothers me because my point is, when they do pick up some type of article that they all want to, write and post everywhere and spread all over, they always choose the negative things. Like,
Sure.
this person murdered somebody. Did you know that he liked video games? Video games are violent. Then they pull in these therapists who agree. Oh, if they played this fighting game and then he beat this person
Sure,
up.
but I
Clearly,
mean,
Street Fighter made him violent when.
Sure, but Gamergate was news for a year, and then nobody cared about it anymore. Bad shit is going to attract people's immediate attention. Like, listen, I don't have a fucking opinion on, like, the people involved by and large, but the event collectively was the fucking shits. And the news media reported on that because it was bad. The news media is going to report on bad things because it draws eyes to the product. Now, this is the thing. It sucks that, we had that reputation spurred on by Jack Thompson and whatever, that video games are, representative of violence, but
that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Look at the way the news media did treat gaming during, the tragedy, essentially. They were distinguishing between the people who were doing awful shit and the people who weren't. They were making efforts to attempt to distinguish that, like, gaming wasn't like a shit show of, teaching our kids to become serial killers anymore. They used nuanced language in describing what gaming was about. So it's no longer profitable to say gaming is going to turn your kids into fucking murderers or, monsters or whatever.
Well, which is partly why you don't really hear it much anymore because, like I said before, because they're seeing the success of, like, ESPN and a couple other news stations, a lot of them have been backing off on saying anything negative. They're not saying anything at all, really, but I imagine they're already... look at Colin Cowherd.
There's not any money in doing it.
Look at Colin Cowherd. I mean, he left ESPN. He thought they were ridiculous, probably because he found out because soon after he left, they announced that they were launching ESPN Esports. But, you know, even on the new station he was at, he kept going on and on trying to bash about it and like making, you know, gamers pissed. But then all of the sudden, and I imagine it's because, you know, the station he worked for said something to him, all of a sudden he was considering investing in esports after all the hate he publicly said. It's really all about money at the end of the day. So I've seen a lot of people back off on things just because they know, one, they don't want to lose their jobs, and two, they see how much money is involved and they start debating whether or not they should actually be saying anything negative about it in the first place. And yes, Crystal, it wasn't a very large study because it was, I think it was like a preliminary, like experimental group. Like they wanted to try it out first to see how things went, to see if there was any type of success rate. And then after that, they're going to move into larger ones from, oh, you,
Yeah, I had her explain it to me before we started, actually.
oh, really?
Nah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you said, I didn't
She's
know
a
you,
doctor.
I didn't know you sent her the article.
Out
She's
of
a
everybody
doctor.
right now here present, she is probably the smartest out of all of us.
Hey, I went to college, motherfucker.
Hey, I went
I know
to
you're
college
incredibly
too,
smart
but,
yourself, but
I went to
she's a
college too,
doctor.
but I just
Yeah, just because she went to college for longer than me doesn't make her smarter than me.
I
In
just-
fact, I would argue that was a bad life decision.
I
He has
just
a point, unfortunately, but
I just read the articles, guys. I mean, there's only so much to know. The only one I will confirm is that the guy who did my surgical procedure on my neck, he did flat out tell me in the middle of it that he plays Minecraft all the time and that his boss pays, like the company that owns the practice pays for all his gaming stuff. Which I thought was cool. So that one I did confirm. This one, obviously, it's very preliminary. I just kind of wanted to use it as a
An example, right.
exactly a recent example, just showing that there's still stuff going on and like there's still like, you know, a lot of doctors and scientists trying to test out theories with video games and the positive effects. So, Dr. Crystal Short.
Yeah, like, and again, I mean, like, I agree with her core point here, which is like you're probably not going to see it pop up until it's a thing where there's like a lot larger of a sample size and it's more verifiable.
Yeah.
The sort of stuff that pops up as like pop studies is shit that's easily misinterpreted. Like, again, going back to, you know, the John Oliver special. Like if it's, you know, chocolate cures cancer, eggs cure cancer, coffee cures cancer, like that's the shit that, you know, fucking Al Roker is going to be talking about on, you know, during the weather report or whatever in the morning, because that's the shit where it's like, this is a thing where it's like, this does great, amazing new thing that, like, you know, wasn't even necessarily what the study fucking said in the first place, but whatever, not the point. The point is, like, this is, you know, gaming might be useful for helping some people who have sensory disorders. And like, even if they get to the point where, like, you know, that's verifiable with thousands of people, like it's probably, it's going to be like a 5-second human interest piece, like, you know, like 10 o'clock at night in the city where that college exists, probably. Like, just because it's not, like, if gaming could cure cancer, that'd be all over the front page news. It's just, it's not.
absolutely.
Well, I mean, I think gaming could do a lot of really great things for people that are struggling, but I would even be like super shocked if gaming could cure something like cancer. Like, that would be unbelievable. And I mean that because, like, it sounds unbelievable.
Sure.
But,
like, you know, that's just what that pop shit is about. Like, for us, it's enthusiast media exists for stuff like that, I think. And it's enthusiast media isn't necessarily big. Like, the largest enthusiast media group that we have is IGN, and even then, like, their hit count is not, like, terribly impressive in the grand scheme of things. But enthusiast media exists for stuff like this. Like, you're probably never going to see a mention of, like, Dungeons and Dragons on the news again, but, you know, there are sites that cover it, and it's to feed the needs of people like us. Gaming is probably never going to be positively discussed except in a financial capacity, or in, like, you know, the discussions of esports on the whole on the news going forward. And I mean, honestly, you know, yeah, it's kind of disheartening, but at least they're not slagging games anymore. And you know what? if gaming can eventually shed off that shitty reputation that it got in the 80s and the 90s, fuck, I'll take it.
I mean, I guess I would have to say that as long as they're not saying anything negative, I guess that's better than nothing, right?
Yeah. So long as you're not shitting on us, I'll take nothing over being actively belligerent,
I agree with that.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not going to say that there's no, because you just said, but negative things happen. I'm aware of the fact that it's very possible that, and I think we discussed this before last year too, the psychological effect of video games. If somebody just isn't hardwired right, or they came from a bad, like some people might not be able to, I guess what's the right way to say this?
Well, I
Might
think
not-
Hamish Bach actually did a YouTube video about how Dark Souls actually helped him cope with different things as well. So,
Yep.
Well, it's hit or miss. There's obviously some people that can't tell the difference between, reality and fantasy, but I'm not really a psychologist, so a lot of stuff I see is what I read, so I can't really dive too far into that, but I do know that my parents always taught me what was reiterated in my brain over and over again. Movies aren't real. Games aren't real. This isn't real. It's just a piece of art. And I guess it was reiterated to me so much that I actually, had
it
that kind of
sunk in.
I kind of had that separation. Like, of course, when I play a game, I get totally lost in it. You watch a movie, you get lost, and you're in that world. But there's a moment where I come out of it. You know what I mean? So, but I feel like some of the negative things that happen where, children or somebody older says, well, this game inspired me. I feel like on some sort of psychological level, they kind of lost that coming out of that type of element, or they're just hardwired differently. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't read a lot of studies on that, to be honest. But does anybody else have anything else they want to say? I mean, the most I can say is I hope in the future. What did Crystal say?
The study.
I mean, I study how people interact with and through technology, and I think there's a lot of potential for good. And I think previous coverage has been super shitty and not true to people's actual lived experiences. But I also think people shouldn't swing too far to the other side where you, in the general you, like the royal you, not you specifically, can't recognize that bad things
I
happen.
get it. I know she's not.
I know, I just want to be sure. Can't recognize that bad things happen too, where you can't take criticism and improve from it.
Oh, well, no, yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. Obviously, while there are a lot of goods, there are some negatives too that occur. I just think some of the negatives that occur have more to do with lifestyle and someone's upbringing than necessarily, the game itself. A lot of people want to, I said this before, there's rating systems. That is true. If they can affect you positively, they can also affect you negatively. There are games I don't like. They affected me negatively when I played them. And they made me mad, and I never played them again.
Ninja Gaiden Black.
No, I mean, and I'm being legit. I mean, obviously there are games, I won't lie, Street Fighter 5, that game legit makes me angry. There's a lot of games I play, even games I don't like. And there are some games that I play, there's very few, but there are some that I get angry when I play it. It makes me mad. I just don't like it to the point where I'm I get pissed. And so I could definitely agree that while some of them affect you positively, there are definitely ones that can affect you in a negative way. But even though I'm hosting the show, I would like, is there anything else you guys have to say about it?
I don't have any more thoughts.
I'm good.
Everybody's good?
We actually agree on something.
Yay, Crystal. Yeah. She said we agreed that we need more attention on the good stuff, though. That was my main point. I realize there are negatives, but I do think there just needs to be a little more attention on the good stuff, and we need to focus a little more on showing that there are positives to it as well, not just necessarily the negatives. But moving on to probably a topic I'm going to enjoy talking about because I love fighting games.
No.
So,
No.
So, what? Oh my God, you guys. All right. So,
Oh yes,
before I,
thank you, Crystal. Just real quick, she posted a preliminary based on a study she did on the FGC. This is something I helped promote within some FGC groups on Facebook, and she released this about a week or two ago. And it's got a really interesting study that everybody should check out.
I wish I would have seen this before I got into the topic I just did, but I just pulled it up. I'm gonna minimize that and take a look at that later. So, thank you, Crystal. Um, everybody watching
The
should
more
check it
you
out.
know.
The more you know. But I am actually curious about that one. I do want to read that one, given how active I am in the FGC. So, fighting games are becoming more and more popular. Uh, our numbers are growing in the fighting game community. I just spoke with 6 or 7 people tonight, and they had no idea this stuff was going on and was excited and wanted to get involved when I went to the tournament I was at. So I pretty much did my best to try to get them involved and to come out. Um, that being said, the games themselves have changed a lot. And if you go back and you play games like Samurai Showdown, and I mean the
Love
original,
that
like
game.
arcade versions of Samurai Showdown. First of all, there's no training mode. There's no story mode. You don't have any like crazy stories. You have none of that. Hell, it's difficult to even figure out how versus works. You should see me on the Switch trying to like play it because I can't even figure out, and it's like the original port, so it's like difficult trying to figure it out. But it has none of this. I mean, literally all it is you're playing against the
The
computer.
computer.
The computer, arcade mode. And if you push a couple complicated buttons, if you know how to do it, you can somehow magically get 2-player. I mean, that's literally how it is. It's very complex. But and obviously the graphics aren't as high quality. It's like
Shut your mouth. That game is
8-bit.
still good.
That game was
I know,
gorgeous.
but I'm talking about the quality now compared to that. I'm not even saying it's not pretty, but you know exactly what I mean when I say that. The fighting game moves were very blocky and shaky. There weren't that many moves. You can do a lot more with fighting games now than you could back then. That being said, nowadays it seems like the story mode matters. Back then it didn't matter to have a story mode. Everybody loved it. It didn't matter if you had training mode. Obviously we need training mode for competitions, but it didn't matter at the time about a training mode. None of these extra costumes and skins, DLC, none of that existed. So fighting games over the course of the last like 20, 30 years, especially just the last like 10 years, let alone, have had such a very huge shift. So I guess I kind of want to talk about, everybody's views on the shift from, the classic Samurai Showdown games to the current, like, I'll bring it up, Street Fighter 5, Injustice 2, Tekken 7's coming out, even Ultra Street Fighter 2, we can throw that in there because they made a lot of changes to that one too to try to modernize it a little bit, but still keep it closer to the quote-unquote original. Like, they add like extra modes in there, extra DLC characters. So let's start with Rob, since I know you're active in the fighting game community too. What are your views on the evolution of fighting games from the classic to the current? Do you think that there's been positive changes, and what do you think are the cons to the evolution? Pros and cons of the evolution.
Well,
And
in
what do you think
terms-
those changes are?
Well, in regards to fighting games, we got to go a little bit farther back than like the Samurai Showdown games, even
I was
Street Fighter
just using-
2.
Well, of course, I was just using an example, but yeah.
I would say some of the big things that I really enjoy about the evolution fighting games is just how much variety you get. Granted, yes, we get a lot of games that end up being clones of one another, and they mimic each other in so many different ways. I mean, you had SNK and as much as I hate to say it, SNK for a little bit was mimicking what Capcom was trying to do, even though they tried to be different with like how they would do the arcade experience when it came to games like Art of Fighting or Fatal Fury, as opposed to like Street Fighter 2. you just had, let's just say, I would say one of the big things at the beginning of fighting games was how they tried to empower women with the female fighters that they included. Because if you look back at before Street Fighter 2, I mean, you had the original Street Fighter, you had, I guess, crap like Time Killers, and then you had the earlier stuff like Karate, where there was no female protagonists that were available to be played at all. Or actually, I could be wrong about Time Killers. That game sucks anyway.
Yeah.
But once Chun-Li was introduced, and then they introduced Cammy and so many other female characters, and then along with them, the introduction of like Blue Mary and Mai Shiranui and so many other female characters. So you definitely had the growth of strong female characters. Now, the negative we get from that, of course, is the overt sexualization of the female characters. In case you haven't noticed, Chun-Li's bust size has, like, tripled since 1990.
I think you're talking about Mai, sir.
Well, Mai has as well, but Chun-Li's boobs have gotten up there, too.
Oh,
Yeah, they've
I
gotten pretty
could
ridiculously big.
probably argue that Mai's got way more bigger than Chun-Li's has.
Yeah, I remember Mai very well. Like, she actually had a dress that covered her up completely, too, when she first appeared. So I would definitely say that was the one big negative, but nowadays, I play a game like Dead or Alive 5, and actually, I just don't give a crap, because I enjoy the gameplay elements. Other things that have become a good staple in terms of the evolution is just the type of, how we had like the video game crash of the early 2000s, after Street Fighter Third Strike came out, because there was just too many fighters coming out at that point, because there was just way too much garbage. I mean, at a point like in the late 90s, people did start to experiment with different types of ideas. Like, you had games like Zero Divide and Gods of War and Bio Freaks, and you had all these weird games that were trying to be hybrids of.
Oh yeah, oh my god, what's that one game on Switch? I almost got it. It was weird. I never heard of it. It's a fighting game. It's from Neo Geo.
I'm not sure.
Keith or Rob, you might know. I because they put a bunch of different like classic games on there, like KOF games and stuff like that. And there's
Waku 7.
yes, I actually I thought I heard of all of them. I never heard of that one
That
until I
game
was looking
never
at
came
games
out in the
on
U.S., but that was a very unique and hilarious fighter.
Well, when you were talking about like a lot of like companies trying to come up with these weird games, I just instantly thought of that one, because when I was looking it up online, I found very, very few, but I found a few videos of the game. I'm like, what in the world is going on in this game right now?
So,
I almost bought it.
Even though in the late 90s, we had a ton of these fighting games that were coming out, because we had the Street Fighter clones that were coming out in the early to mid 90s. In the late 90s, everyone was like, okay, we gotta fight for everyone's dollar. So they started coming up with different weird ideas. Like, then you had the shitty fighters, like the stuff on the Neo Geo, Way of the Warrior, Battle Monsters, and stuff like that. So eventually the market crashed because there was just oversaturation of stuff. So even good quality fighters were just being thrown under the bus, like Garou, Mark of the Wolves, or, again, Third Strike, even though it was extremely popular and it helped start EVO. It didn't get, I guess, the attention it deserved. And then, now going towards the negative of after that, because, believe that even though there was a crash, that's not the negative. The crash is now that even though fighters have resurfaced, developers are, in my opinion, playing it way too safe with how they release their fighters. I mean, sure, you got NetherRealms, who was trying different things with Injustice and Mortal Kombat, and just the way they try to make their games extremely robust and complicated with like stances and just different button layouts and combinations and whatnot. It's really like the games aren't really offering much variety in terms of like uniqueness, because SNK games will always play like SNK games. They always have that same 4-button layout. You know what you're getting when you play it, which is even though why I love the last two King of Fighters games. It really felt like nothing new to me. When you play Street Fighter V, I feel like I'm playing a really dumbed-down fighting game. When I'm playing Killer Instinct, as much as I love Killer Instinct, it really feels like a rehash of the original because people want to just stick to what's keeping the games safe. So the evolution has really at some point when Street Fighter after some update to Street Fighter 4, everyone decided to just stop trying to evolve and make their games better and make them more casual friendly. And that to me is where I think the evolution of fighting games has really stopped, in my personal opinion. And I think I'll stop there because I feel like I'm running away with this.
So, what you're saying is exactly what I was one of the things I wanted to bring up was the difference, the fact that there wasn't no story modes and things like that, but now they're forced to kind of have to appease both the
casuals and the hardcore audience.
Exactly, and I think that that's one of the big issues that even happened with Street Fighter 5. They were focused so much on trying to please the hardcore competitive gamers that they left out all this other stuff for the casual players as well, all the extra fun stuff, to the point that even some, like myself, even a lot of hardcore players was unhappy with it too, and like myself. But, when did that shift happen? When did it go from being okay to not being okay to include all that stuff?
Yeah, but here's the thing with Street Fighter V is that Street Fighter V was trying to do all sorts of different things for it, and it just failed miserably if you really kind of think about it on it. It was trying to appease to this audience for it, but even if they were trying to go for that simple route, Emily, if they just didn't charge that that price tag is really what was the killer of it. It was like you gave us a stripped-down game for the same price of what you would have charged me if I had all this content in a Street Fighter 4 or a Street Fighter 3.
Well, I definitely agree with you there. I mean, take a look at Injustice 2. So I paid extra money for the season pass, but that's one season pass for every single DLC character that's going to come out. That's it. There's not season 1, 2, 3, this. There's going to be a total of 9 DLC characters, and they're all, if you buy the season pass, you get everything that comes with the season pass. When you look at Street Fighter 5, they're going to, every year they're going to release 6 DLC characters, but in the beginning they said there was only going to be one season. That's it. You buy that pass, you get all the DLC. Then they changed it and announced season 2 pass where you have to pay another $30. So that I agree with you, the price, it's not worth it for me. The game isn't worth me paying $30 every single year for another season pass, as opposed to playing an additional $40 where I get everything already included in it. So why would I ever have to worry in the next 15 years paying anything extra? So I do agree that, money obviously played a big issue in it, but there were a lot of people that returned the game because it had didn't have enough content either. Well, it wasn't just the financial aspect of it.
It had to be.
It wasn't. Yeah, because they're paying for a game that's not finished.
Exactly.
I think we agree. So I'm just gonna. So, Keith, obviously we heard a lot about Rob and his views on the pros and cons of the evolution of fighting games. Let's move on to you. I'll take Mark for last.
Oh man! If anything, now I'm gonna be like the in the middle guy.
Do you want to be last?
No, I don't want to be last.
Okay, I didn't think so.
But pretty much is that with the with fighting games, like you had your more basic games in the beginning, like you said, you had Street Fighter, and then you were talking about previously of that. With Street Fighter, you just got lucky, and eventually, if you got like these different combinations for everything, eventually you got to do a cool move. And then you really, at the height of everything, was Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2 was awesome because it actually had all sorts of different things going on inside of it.
Nobody remembers Street Fighter 1.
Well, it's because it wasn't really by normal definitions the game that we know and love today for it. And then you had Street Fighter 2 that just changed the whole genre, and then eventually you started getting all of these different clones for it. If anything, Robert, I loved a lot of those Neo Geo games that came out.
I do too, but at the same time, after a while, it just felt like they were rehashing crap.
don't get me wrong. They were total rehashes, and I loved how that now they can just poke fun at each other because of it. That Neo Geo will like do one thing, and then all of a sudden Capcom will be like, "Oh, Dan slips on a banana peel now," something along those lines. I find that nobody likes Dan. Who the hell likes Dan? He wears a pig.
I like Dan.
I like
Oh
Dan.
my god, thank you for saying who the hell likes Dan and then talking about his stupid pink outfit. Thank you. Because you don't know how many people in the freaking FGC make fun of me and rub Dan in my face because of how much I hate him. That's I don't hate characters very much, but I despise Dan out of every single Street Fighter character in the world. I hate.
I mean, that's fine. You're allowed to not like good things.
Here we go again.
My God, you know what, Mark?
Dan's my boy, yo. Don't be talking shit.
I just talk shit. Screw Dan.
Thank you. At least I know Keith's on my
No,
side.
it's not even so much that. It's just that he's a horrible fucking person. Like, seriously.
Dude, he's so
Yes, I know that's the
insane.
point.
I know it's the point, but I just don't
Why
like
is
him.
He's not in any
You're not
other-
supposed to like him. That's why I like him.
He's not in the game before. He's like horrible. His stupid grin. I just want to smack his grin off his face every time I see him come up on the screen. No, there actually is somebody I know from the Philly FGC whose main is Dan. Like, he absolutely loves Dan, and I'm like, he's like, next time we play Street Fighter, I'm gonna play nothing but Dan on you. I said, I'm never gonna play you. I was like, unless you play a different character, we will never, ever play each other.
Yeah, but if anything, that's when you're just be like, this is why Dan sucks. Boom. Done. But
Anyway, back on the topic.
I was about to say, back on track as far as that's concerned. Nowadays, with games, is that, again, the price tags are very, very hefty for it, and you want to feel that you're getting the most value for your dollars. So, at one point, they were like, let's add a little bit more story to it. I'm going to probably say that came around about, like, that Mortal Kombat era when they were trying to make that transition from, like, they're trying to put a little bit more of a story, a little bit more of a zoom into the, into the work,
narrative.
so to say. Narrative, thank you. Putting a little bit more of a narrative inside of the actual video games for that. So that's where this whole genre went off. And of course, Mortal Kombat was fantastic because it had a lot. I'm doing the Trump thing. It's fantastic. It's great. No, I'm
Oh
sorry.
my God.
But anyway, getting back on track yet again for it is that they added these different things into it. So it felt like you're getting a little bit more of a different value for it. So now I think this is what gamers are used to. They're looking for to have, like, I just want to play by myself. I don't want to have this social interaction. I don't want to have this. I want to be able to train on my own. I want to get better at this so when I do go out on it. So they expect these different things now because that's what we're kind of getting inside of it. And if I'm paid $60 for a game, I want to get the full experience out of it. With Street Fighter V, if you were to be like, okay, $30 for this game right out of the box for this, and here you go do your thing. And then if you want additional stuff, well, you can buy that, pick and choose, like a la carte, so to say, for that. But I think that's where the downfall was for that in moving forward. But I don't think that they're really going to have that same issue for it. But then you have games like Injustice 2 that are just coming out. Well, that's pretty much fueling the fire of, like, well, they have a lot of superhero genre into this, so they got to incorporate this story. They got to incorporate these moves. They got to incorporate this into it because there's so much that could be done with superheroes and also with the whole NetherRealm games. Yeah, NetherRealm games.
Yep.
NetherRealm. You can shorten it to NRS.
Their whole genre of how they present things because they were kind of the first to bring it into that modern era. And that's how I feel about this.
Okay. Mark,
Hi.
go ahead.
Oh, you're still with us?
I'm here.
I
was
saved
being
you for
polite.
last, Mark. Go ahead. What is your thoughts on all this?
You sound so happy about it too.
I just don't know I don't know what I'm about to expect, so I'm preparing myself for it because when Mark is this quiet and then he goes to talk, he's like, okay, so this is how I
Science.
see it. And it's like he goes,
Emily,
To
let
be
the
fair,
man
I'm also
talk.
eating. To be fair, I was also eating.
you
But-
know that you are though.
I mean, this
Go ahead.
is the thing. This is the thing.
See?
I feel like fighting games evolved because kind of everything had to evolve at some point or another. Like look at when the first fighting games came to the home console. You had Street Fighter 2, Fatal Fury, stuff like that. They were basically more or less arcade perfect translations, or as close to that as you were going to get. And they were meant to replicate the experience of playing it in the arcade with the ability to play it locally with your friends. So you got an experience that was, maybe not visually arcade perfect, but structurally, mechanically arcade perfect, with the ability to play versus without having to try to shove a quarter into your SNES or Genesis or whatever. And that's all that was really expected of them. As technology advanced, you kind of got to this point where fighting game developers were able to start cramming new and different shit into the games, and they were like, you know what, the arcade scene is dying. The arcade scene is going away. We're not marketing these games so that people can get the arcade experience necessarily anymore. We're trying to make these games viable on the home platform. So you would get move lists included in the games and training modes, because it started going away from arcade culture. So the arcade just stopped being a thing after a while. And fighting games needed to evolve even further beyond that, because once the arcade went away entirely, before online play became a thing, the market for fighting games kind of went down to the hardcores. Like the casual people who would buy it because Street Fighter was super popular in the 90s left. They went on to go do other shit. So you have to keep evolving your game at that point, because you're trying to keep those hardcore players and whatever casual players might stick around interested in your game. So that's why you're getting, involved story modes, or, character creation modes or things like that. It's you're trying to keep as many eyes on the product as possible, because a lot of these developers remember when they were making millions of dollars off of these games. And now that they're kind of at a point where online play and the exposure of esports is starting to allow them to make millions of dollars off of these games again, they're going to latch onto that fucking shit. Fucking Cartman on a Jewish kid. And they're not going to fucking let go until it's dead.
There's our South Park reference for the night. Thank you.
So here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. For me personally, I have been playing fighting games since I was a kid, and I buy a lot of them. I am not what one would call conventionally good fighting games. I know how to do the motions for Street Fighter. I know how to play as my mains in the majority of fighting games that exist. But
Dan.
I'm not. Look, Dan in Street Fighter Alpha 3 was good, and you need to shut your fucking mouth, okay? But I'm not good at these games. I'm not great at combo management. I'm not great at crossovers. I don't know how to do tech shit. I can call it out. I know I've spent enough time on Shoryuken to figure out what the different systems are. But I'm not any good at fucking art. I can't deal with the diehard fucking fighting games. So for people like me who are tangentially interested in fighting games and enjoy playing them casually, but will never ever ever be in the competitive scene because they know they would get fucking ruined, that's great. Fucking awesome. You have this ability to still be invested in it without having to be tournament level, which is something that fighting games need now, because you're kind of sharing the same competitive space with Call of Duty and League of Legends and whatever. The problem with all of that is that, how can I put this? Fighting games kind of sort of come from a culture that is very bro-ish. And it's evolving and it's changing, but you notice that occasionally shit happens that people ain't super happy about. And it happens in, other esports communities, but in a lot of those esports communities, it's fuck that guy. If somebody's a dick in League of Legends, they just fire that guy and it just kind of moves on. In the fighting game community, it's a lot of the stuff that's been around for years at this point, and it's harder to undo. So it's kind of a case where a lot of the stuff that was directly associated with the community is becoming not as important. in the grand development of things, and it's hard for developers to know what to focus on. Going back to Street Fighter V, Capcom's major concern with Street Fighter V when they got it out was get it out in time for Evo, get it out in time for the competitive stuff. They focused purely on the competitive market, and everybody shit all over it. And to be clear, they like massively mishandled this thing from jump, and that game was never going to come out in intact condition. But the thing was that they took a risk trying to push it so that it would get hype at a tournament, and it didn't pay off. Tekken, by comparison, has been constantly being pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, even though it's basically tournament ready, and we've been seeing the arcade version of Tekken 7 at tournaments, because they're looking to generate the ideal home experience to a point where they're now running up against other fighting games like Injustice 2 that are already ready to go. So it's hard for these people to know where they're supposed to be focusing shit. Fighting games as a entity, as a thing, is having its entire identity flipped with and changed around, and it's hard to know what to even begin to focus on. Do you aim to be a niche title like Arcana Heart 3 that shows up at like 6 tournaments a year, but that has a hell of a lot of diehards talking about how amazing it is? Do you try to be an amazing single-player experience like Tekken 7 is trying to be, or like to a certain extent Injustice is going to be, and risk possibly sacrificing tournament viability? Or do you aim for a tournament like Street Fighter V and possibly screw the pooch and end up with like nobody paying attention to you? It's a weird fucking tightrope that you have to walk here, and it's got to be fucking nightmarish for a lot of the developers who don't even know if their shit's going to be viable next year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's true. I mean, fighting games have taken such a large shift at this point compared to what they were that, not having even a good story mode could ruin a whole entire game for a bunch of casual players, as opposed to before, when it didn't matter if there was a story mode. So I could definitely see the pros and cons and how much more difficult it is now for game developers compared to, back then.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree, and it's a whole new market that you're aiming at just in general, because it's like games like League of Legends and Call of Duty and whatnot were kind of sort of aimed with the idea of being multiplayer games with single player elements from jump. Developers knew what they were getting into with that. And games like, StarCraft kind of fell ass over tea kettle into what they were supposed to be, and you didn't need to change a lot. Fighting games have had to evolve a lot to a point now where you're starting to see fighting games come out where, like, the story is the major focal point, and if it happens to get, like, community acknowledgement, okay. Like, Arc System Works, I'm sure they appreciate being in the fighting game community. That is absolutely not their fucking priority in any way, shape, or form. And if you have played any recent Arc System Works game with the 10-hour-long story modes that these games have, I think you will agree with me on that. They release these games with like 4 new characters in them and like a couple of minor systemic tweaks, but the major input is 10 hours more story and $60, and people go out and fucking buy that shit. It's hard to know where to even begin to focus as a fighting game developer, because you have no idea if the thing that you're focusing on is going to mean, adoption into the next like year's worth of tournaments, or if it's going to mean 5 people are going to download your shit on PSN and think it's really neat.
And it's funny that you say that, because we could definitely use actually NetherRealm as an example. So obviously, when Injustice came out in the very beginning, it was very, very popular. It was the first real like full DC, fighting game that came out, but it had a lot of flaws. And those flaws ended up making it die off really fast once everyone actually came to realize, wow, this game is not. Now, I don't think NetherRealm has ever really had an issue with their story modes. In fact, their story modes are probably visually some of the best story modes fighting games ever seen. But there were a lot of issues with their gameplay. For example, one of the things that people hated the most in Injustice 1 was the interactables. Not necessarily that there were interactables, but the fact that they were unblockable. So it didn't matter whatever. If somebody just kept using interactables on you over and over again, you could never block them. And that was a big flaw in the game. And there was a multitude of other issues. One big issue that they failed with is that they were patching every other week. Then they started patching every other week, changing everything up on players. And it was consistently changing so much every week that players got irritated. So a lot of the mistakes they made with Injustice, when they came out with Mortal Kombat 10, they incorporated a lot of the same ideas from Injustice 1, but fixed the problems with those ideas in Mortal Kombat 10, which is one of the reasons why I think MK10 actually lasted longer than any of the other MK games, at least popularity-wise. So a lot of people, and it's hard to tell now because I have not fully sat down and played the game and explored everything on it yet. It's already downloaded. So as soon as I'm done this, I'm obviously gonna go play Injustice. But
surprise.
But a lot of people are talking about all the mistakes that they made in Injustice and in Mortal Kombat. They fixed in Injustice 2 to try to make it even a stronger game than it was before. So that kind of idea that game developers kind of struggle, and some of them have really good, they're really good with one aspect, like the story mode, but they might not be as good technically when it comes to the actual gameplay, in which then they have to keep trying to learn and improve it. It does not have Kite Man, and oh my god. So I just wanted to kind of use them as an example to go based off of what you were saying, that some that it is more difficult for game developers, because some game developers have their strengths when it comes to fighting games and other ones have their weaknesses, and now they kind of have to learn how to make this fully complex, well-rounded fighting game and keep people interested and do something different than the other companies that are making them, and hope it's successful. When they didn't really have to worry about that much, 20 years ago. Nobody's saying anything because they're having conversations in the chat right now. They're very focused about bots and countermands. No, I don't even know what the hell you guys are
No,
talking.
we're just sitting here listening to you and Mark go back and forth about this whole thing.
Yep. I was about to say, I'm just enjoying the show right now, actually.
I am. It's really right now, after I said my piece, there was really nothing more I could add. So I just sat here and I just listened really to you and Mark go off the whole time.
Hi, Crypto Trails. I think Crypto Trails. Did I say that right? I think I said that right.
Yep.
I hope I did. Yeah.
Hi, Rooney.
Oh, wait, you know who that is?
Yes, he's a friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all our
For
fans
variable
are
definitions of the word friend.
Yeah, all of our fans are people that Mark know personally.
Ooh.
So,
Okay,
yay! Thank you, Mark.
I'm
Batman.
now.
Yeah. Oh, everybody's fighting over you now. You know what, Mark? I think he's my friend.
I think you like him. He has sex pants.
What?
Sex pants.
Oh
Okay, then.
my god. That just took a very quick.
We just went
Rapid
south real fast right there.
Yeah, he's also Jamelian's friend. Damn straight, Crystal. All right. I don't want to see any sex pants though. I'm good on
I don't think I don't need to see any.
So I think we
sex
should
pants
spend the last couple of minutes doing a question and answer session with the audience.
That's
Yes,
actually you guys are all on the same page as me, because I was going to say for about the next 5-10 minutes we should do.
There you go, Rob. Your bot did some good.
Yep.
So that being said, what questions do you have for us? Try to keep them video game related, nothing about sex pants, please. Thank you.
Oh, god damn it. This show's bullshit. Going home. Where's my wallet?
Where did the bot come from? From the
Came
darkest
from
pits of hell.
Rob's deranged mind. If you could permanently delete any FGC character that isn't Dan, who would you delete? I know that question's for me.
I think
Well,
that
for
could
all
be for all of
of
us.
us,
Yeah.
Don't hog the questions, Emily.
I mean,
Don't hog the questions.
You can ask Crystal. Crystal, were you directing
Who's
that
Hub?
question mainly towards Hub?
Who's Hub? I don't know who Hub is. You're just like my boss. He doesn't even know how to spell my last name either.
All you have to do is add an S.
Hell, my boss goes one step further. He misspells my name with an O. He adds an
everyone but
E. He forgets the S.
I see this to everyone but Emily first. Ouch. All right, go guys, because I have to answer last. Apparently,
We'll go with
so.
Mark first.
Oh, I don't have an answer. Come to me later. I'm making tea, all right?
All right, I'll go first. Let's say go Joe Higashi, because that'll piss people off. That's the only reason why.
Wait, now she's saying Emily first. Well, you
Crystal,
wrote to everyone.
Crystal, you had you're stretching this one question real far.
You said to everyone but Emily first. So, oh wait, I see what she's saying now.
Oh, okay. So Emily first.
But nobody
She's
caught.
telling
but
us to
nobody caught
listen
that.
in the chat room. Hey, listen.
I'm not the listen. You're like Navi in my ear. Listen.
Listen. Hey, listen.
Listen.
Hey,
Dude,
listen. Look.
I'm so glad they took that out because that was so freaking annoying. Every second, listen.
This
Anyway,
little bastard right here has it as a text ringtone.
oh, that would annoy me. All right,
Or did you change that, Keith?
Emily
No, it's
first.
still the same.
All right.
Yeah.
So if I could permanently delete any FGC character that isn't Dan, who would you delete? Oh man, that's honestly a tough one. Anybody but Dan. God, he just comes. It's just like in big, like bright, shiny letters in front of my face right now. Is Dan. Let's see. So you said any FGC character, so that helps a little bit. Paul Phoenix from Tekken. His punches are cheap as hell, and sometimes I get so freaking annoyed because people just keep spamming that one punch, and it does ridiculous amounts of damage, like for no reason at all. It's stupid. So I would be okay if Paul from Tekken didn't exist anymore. I would be okay with that.
That hair is magnificent. It cannot go away.
Okay, no, the hair is magnificent. His fists are like, there's just no reason that they do that much damage. Come on. He punches you once and it does over half of your health. Like, that's ridiculous. Why does his punches have to be so overpowered? Like, it's like more salty than Christy and Eddie in the game.
Okay.
Because he does one punch. So I mean, if I was allowed to pick Dan, obviously it would be Dan, but if I have to pick a character, I would say Paul from Tekken.
All right. How about let's go to Heath.
If anything, and it's gonna be a shocker, I would say Akuma, because he's just a fucking pain in the ass. Like, just overpowerful character. It's just ridiculous as far as everything he can do. So yeah, I'm not.
I think the GVN bot has a good one. Said poison.
You mean you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You mean you?
No.
No, she's talking about poison from.
Oh no! I'm referring to the GVN bot, which is pretty much Rob, but he wants to pretend like it's not.
No, we're not doing this. No. Mark.
Cable from Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
That's a good one. I like that.
All of his various attacks are fucking
Eddie is dumb.
ridiculously cheap as shit.
So we all know what Rob's answer is. It's poison. So.
No, I said Joe Higashi.
Excuse you. I took Capoeira, and I will have you know that shit's fucking tight if you actually use it as a combat martial art, sir.
Oh,
I will not have
Brazil.
Uh-oh. Crypto Trail's got something big going on.
Holy crap. All right, so these are going to be the last questions because, all right, let's see.
Gating multiplayer content behind probably talked about this already, so probably can be skipped. What about gating multiplayer content behind single-player campaigns? Does the single-player in fighting games need multiplayer? 2, considering that there are many contenders for Game of the Year this year, are you ready for the imminent announcement of Street Fighter Ken's Burger Challenge, a Telltale game?
Yes, and you know what? I have already voted it as Game of the Year, just off of principle. It's a Telltale game, and it has Ken from Street Fighter.
Oh my god. Wait, is that a real game?
No.
No.
No, I didn't think so.
Might be at some point, but
I'm done.
I'm just
okay,
very
I'm checking
convinced
out
I'm
I
now.
feel
sorry.
the fact that she can ask the question, is that a real game, says a lot about Telltale as a company, and none of it's very good.
Well, no, because I thought he was making it up and I thought it was funny, but then Keith, you were talking about it being a mobile phone game, so I'm like, oh shit, wait, is that really a game? Because I might have to like buy it just for the freaking hell of it. Like, all right, um, I do.
All right, to his
here's-
actual
here's- here's-
question.
okay, so here's the thing. I do believe that the single player in fighting games helps multiplayers. The multiplayer mode, because when you have training mode that you can do in single player mode, you can play against people like with you. They have this new thing where you can actually train online with other players. It's a nice thing about the internet and things like that. And of course, that's a multiplayer, but I think adding the training mode aspect and like commands and trials and all this other stuff for single player in the arcade mode where you have to battle against a computer, I do think that it helps improve the single player so that when they play multiplayer and they play against somebody else, they are technically they are better with that character than they were before, if that makes sense. Was that, did I understand that question correctly? Because everyone's silent.
Well, if anything,
I
I
think
think
so.
he's kind of talking about how in Street Fighter on the Switch, there's actually a mode now that you could have a second player join in on the actual first player experience and help you beat that.
Oh, that's been as
boss.
far back as the
Yeah,
Street Fighter Alpha.
But see, the thing is, if you're talking about that, you can have
Cinematic
another
mode,
player
that's what it's
join in. That's I wouldn't necessarily argue that that's multiplayer or single mode. I mean, you're having another player come in. Therefore, you're not really in a single player mode anymore. You're you have somebody else helping you as opposed to literally doing it all yourself, single player mode. Training by yourself, no online mode with someone coming in and training with you, doing the arcade mode by yourself, all the trials, things like that, arcade mode. I personally do believe that actually helps you, train and become a better player. And then when you do go on to multiplayer and play against other people, you're, kind of honing in and practicing what you learned.
Alrighty.
In regards to the keep the questions coming, I'm gonna say one more good question.
Okay.
I feel like by and large, single player in fighting games helps the multiplayer, but it largely depends on the game in question as well. For the most part, I think you can pick up a lot by playing against the computer, by scaling up the difficulties and whatnot, so you can, adjust your tactics, slowly learn how to get better before you eventually take yourself into a public setting or into online multiplayer. In a lot of respects, it can actually be more beneficial to play against the computer than it can be to play an online multiplayer, dependent upon how the netcode is. Because if the netcode's garbage, you're going to be learning entirely the wrong lessons about what to do and when to do it. Because, the timing's going to be completely off, and playing against the computer is going to be spot on accurate. That said, it depends on the game, because like a game that has like really shitty read your button math type AI, like the early Mortal Kombat's as an example, where the computer knew what you were doing because it knew what you were pressing on the D-pad and counter-programmed itself motions the exact second you made them. That doesn't
bastards.
And I don't feel like a lot of the Arc System Works story modes are necessarily helpful to multiplayer, but they're not really designed to be. So it's kind of a toss up there. Like that's not what that's meant for, so you can't really make that comparison.
All right, we got one more question. Biggest hope for virtual reality. Here's what I'm going to say. There
robots.
is no hope.
I will disagree. So, as somebody who has the PlayStation VR,
No.
what?
No, I was answering Crystal's question about should every game have a cat in it. No.
No, definitely
Yes.
no.
Yes, because I'm a fan of Felicia.
All right, but no.
Anyway.
As someone who does have the PlayStation VR, who has tried out other different types of virtual reality before, I will have to say that PlayStation made huge strides with their VR. I mean, it is by far one of the coolest things I've ever had, and it is a step up. They finally did it right compared to all the different other virtual reality stuff coming out that wasn't quite successful. So I hope that virtual reality can continue to excel. The graphics improve. There's just more. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to go into detail about this, but I just hope to see more different types of virtual reality and to see what they can do, at least graphic wise. I mean, for example, right now that virtual reality headset for the PSVR, I mean, first of all, it's strapped on your head tight. I mean, when you put it on, you have to even like twist something in the back, and it's so tight on there that you can't even get it off. The thing is, though, the headset they use, it's like these little headphones that you can plug into like the VR and plug in so that like you really feel like you're in the game.
The immersion.
But the plugs are kind of flimsy. So I would like to see something where there's like a built-in like headset, like rumble type thing inside the VR like helmet that you're putting on. I think that would be cool. Where you don't have to put in all these extra wires, where you could just plug it in, put it on, strap it on, and you're there. I would also like to see the graphics improve a little more. I'm not saying that they're horrible. They're pretty deep. They're very impressive for what it is, but I would like to see it a little more. I will tell you though that right now there's times I play the VR where I'm like, I forget that I'm not in the game. So you know what I mean? Like you lose your sense of reality sometimes with that headset on and you can't pull it off because it's so tight on. You have to like mentally get yourself out if you're really into the game at least.
Oh, come on now. Tell us, how many times did you play Resident Evil where you ripped off that headset when you got a nice, good jump scare?
I never ripped the headset off.
Liar.
Well, I'm going to take the funny approach on this one, is that I hope it doesn't become like Sword Art Online. I hope it does not.
I never ripped it off.
Listen.
It's not
that
very,
ultimately gets to my point of sex robots, so I'm okay with it.
Oh my gosh.
No, because I don't want to fucking die in a video game.
I mean, listen, if you die in real life, you die of like lame shit like cancer or like AIDS or like a piano falling on you. If you die in Sword Art Online, it's probably awesome.
I'll tell you what I am looking forward. I tell you what I am looking forward to. So Tekken 7 is going to be VR compatible. And this is really the first fighting game that I'm hearing is going to be compatible with the VR. So I'm really interested to see how they went about this. So
it's probably going to be like Virtua Fighter, where they had the first-person mode added to it. I forget which one they did that to.
I don't think they are going to add a first-person mode in. I don't know what exactly they're doing, but I don't think they're adding a first-person mode in. The last I looked, well, so I would be interested. So depending on what they do with their VR mode, I would be curious to see if fighting games and other games start kind of making their way into VR too, and see how they take that approach, and if it's something that could be popular or not. Obviously, you're not gonna have a bunch of people at a tournament wearing VR headsets, but
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I am going to, as long as nobody else has anything else to say, kind of close everything up here. So first things first, thank you to all our viewers for watching. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy hosting.
Thank you, Emily.
And do you guys have anything that you want to say? Oh, follow me on Twitter at Jemillion, JEMMILLION. I forgot how to spell my own tag there for a second. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and everywhere. Yay, I'm going to be more active and I'm going to be streaming again. So you should follow my Twitch, twitch.tv/Jamelian, because I'm going to be streaming a lot of Injustice and stuff in the future because we have like 5 fighting games coming out in the next couple months. 2 months to be exact. So
All
go
right.
ahead, Rob, Keith, Mark.
Okay, so real quick, after the conclusion of this GVN Live, I have 2 other things that'll be going on, and one thing I'm currently planning. We got Disney month still going on with Game Jam. This Wednesday, we are going to be playing 2 Disney games. We're going to be playing Land of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, and we're going to be playing Quackshot. Mark is going to be my guest of honor. We haven't decided what's going to be going on, but just tune in anyway. We're going to have a lot of fun. Both are amazing games. Thursday, we will not be having 3 Vets and a Noob because our noob is going to be off doing stuff like life. And then after that, we...
Life.
then we're going to...
Frickin' life.
Yep. Then the following week, yes, it's another Disney Game Jam, which is the first of 2 parts of the Disney Afternoon. Starting off with the guy right here below me. He will be joining us as we play both Darkwing Duck and hopefully some Tailspin. And, and of course, it will also be his turn for the next GVN Live to be host. So definitely tune in for that. And I'm sure Mark wants to plug something too. Mark, what would that be?
I have no idea.
No? You have nothing to plug?
No.
What?
No? Didn't you just recently do an episode of Neo Kobe?
Oh, that. Yes. It's been a while. It's been a long while, but we have actually posted two brand new episodes of Neo Kobe Pizza, the only gaming podcast that floats in soup, over on soundcloud.com/MarkBWriting. You can also find it over on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Music, basically anywhere that hosts podcasts. I have one more in the backlog, and then I hopefully am going to be able to start recording in the next few days to have a few more ready to go. But we're hopefully going to be doing this weekly as normal going forward.
Awesome. And
Nice.
what about your stream?
I stream on Sundays now, usually starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mostly we're just doing a whole lot of Persona 5, although the one week we did Final Fantasy 14, so it's back and forth dependent upon what needs to be done at the moment.
All right. Keith?
And I just come on to these different shows still, and I just do my thing. That's me at the moment. I have really
Follow
no,
the Gamer Keith on Twitter. The Gamer Keith. He's on Twitter.
He's got a Twitter
Go
right
follow.
there.
Yes, I do. I was about to say
can't make
that's
my hand go down there,
all I
bud.
got. But you can tweet me, shoot the shit with me, anything along those lines. I love talking about games, so there you go.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I hope that you have a fabulous night, and I am going to go play some Injustice 2 before I go to bed. See you all again soon in 2 weeks.
No.
Bye.
Peace.
Deuces.